So first, I would like to ask about potential of African countries for us, for European, Polish, Germans investors.
Africa has the youngest population in the world. So if 60 or 70% of your population is under the age of 25, that's an enormous amount of consumers that you can access if you invest in time. The continent is 30 million square kilometers, as we heard earlier today, a billion people. And that's a lot of cars and plastic buckets and makeup and things that you can sell on the African continent. Not only in my country, South Africa, which is the wealthiest, but if you start off from a very low economic base, all those consumers can be accessed in future. So the potential is enormous, not only in terms of primary products like gold and all the other exports from the continent, but the sheer size of the consumer market is very large.
From your German experience, what students needs to learn about doing business in Africa?
I think the diversity of the continent is often underestimated. People feel. I once met someone who said, "Oh, you're from South Africa. I know this person in Nigeria." And it's a continent of a billion people with 54 countries. So that diversity needs to be studied and really understood, because the business rules that you follow, the ethics in one part of the continent will not work for you in another part of the continent. So if Central and Eastern Europe, the potential business people here want to invest in Africa, they need to find out what those nuances, what those sensitivities are. And this program will teach them that in order to make better investment decisions on the continent of Africa.
On the other hand, what African countries can offer us to Europe, which African industries branches can compete in our markets?
Uh, there's a long history of European African relations around primary products in particular. There are strategic minerals that are used in the production of cell phones, for instance, they're mobile phones that you don't find anywhere else in the world. So, yes, there's a lot of oil available. I think Africa is one of the top 3 or 4 oil producing areas in the world now. And given the instability of the Middle East, it might be a safer option to explore especially the West African oil export opportunities. The gas discoveries along the African coast in Central Africa and so on have been enormous. So the potential for Europe in terms of energy is untapped in Africa at the moment. So there are those strategic exports of minerals, in particular primary products. The availability of agricultural land is untapped across Africa. China, especially, is very interested in buying up parts of Africa specifically to plant fields, to gain crops, and to feed their people. So, fertile continent that could be used more proactively for European imports of agricultural produce also. And then labor is extremely cheap in Africa. So there is opportunities for European companies, startup companies, Central and Eastern Europe as well, to settle there and to make use of those very cheap laborers, not in an exploitative way, but in a way that both parties to it, both the investors and the laborers can benefit from such an arrangement.
Many European investors are afraid of Africa. What are the main mistakes Europeans do in investing or doing business in African countries?
Yeah. I think the main error would be to prejudge what they are going to find and to sustain a relationship of I'm the boss and you work for me. If Africans are extremely open to and friendly if they are met on a more equal footing, a more friendly, more equitable arrangement. So I think the main mistake that people would make is to assume that the relationships with Africa are the same as they've always been for 100 years, because Africans would not respond well to that relationship of exploitation, really, and prejudice. So that would be my first bit of advice. And then there are some other political and economic challenges that investors must take note of. There's a burden around health, in particular, my field of study. that should be noted. There are social determinants of health. There's enormous poverty in some parts of Africa, but also enormous wealth in other parts of Africa. And that business intelligence needs to be studied before investments are made.
Thank you so much. And I have the last request. Could you introduce yourself as you wish we introduced you in our material?
My name is Pieter Fourie. I'm a professor of political science at Stellenbosch University in South Africa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.